Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today in this classic review, we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe, a real American hero, Vamp Mark II. And this is not my childhood one because, believe it or not, I actually didn't have this as a kid. And this is one of those ones that I just don't know why I didn't have it. So I acquired this one year. I had finally decided to go out on eBay and pick it up. And I was like, all right, you know what? I think it's time. This was many years ago. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm at my kid's school, and across the street, there's these people they're moving out of their house, and they're moving down to Florida. And they're like, just take whatever, right? They were friends of ours. They went to, like, their kids went to school with our kids. And I start rumbling through it, and sure enough, there is a Vamp Mark II, almost complete. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I just ordered this thing, and I don't even know if it had come yet because it was through eBay that long ago. And I was like, so I ended up with two. I did get rid of them. Actually, a lot of the stuff that I've never had, some of the Tiger Force stuff, the Slaughters, Marauders, I think some of that stuff, I never had, and that's where I got it from. So anyway, we're going to take a look at this. We will take a look and see how it's different from the Vamp Mark III, or Vamp Mark I. This is, from what I understand, the retail version, and that is why the jerry cans are plugged in like that, and they don't have the same basket that the other one does. But we're going to take a look at all the things that are different, because this is not just a straight up repaint like the Vamp, like they do these days. So anyway, I think I've wasted enough of your time. Told you a little story. Tell me a story if you have one. Maybe you like this one more than the other one, or maybe you're like, nope. Or maybe you can only get one and you picked the Stinger, which we'll be getting to real shortly. But anyway, let's get into this. But before we do, if you like this type of content, you like these vintage reviews, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop something like this. All right, so here we have our Vamp Mark II, and I will show you these two side by side, and you can see it's not just a remake. And don't you just love that squeaky noise? You know your parents absolutely hated this thing. So anyway, well, we'll take a look at all the detail that comes on it. So just looking at the wheels here, you always had these nice rims, the same ones that came with the original there. And then when you looked at the tires here, all right, you could see where they were kind of molded together. Well, at least it looks like it. I guess there's all one mold, but they always left some sort of tread track there for you. All right. And then on the front, they now give us lights. So you have these fog lights here. You have the different lights here. Now this was a sticker. Now I never understood what those slits were for, but those slits are actually meant so it doesn't break the lights. You got a winch underneath there. There's your engine, and here you have a nice sleeper, your bedroll. That's what it is. Your bedroll. And here you have your not shovel. I got yelled at if I call this a shovel, but it's a shovel that is put in there nicely. And you can see that it's riveted in. So it just gives you that nice feel to it. And then right here, you even have it where it's pinned down. So the engine, so the hood doesn't pop up. Those are just little details that you don't really think about as a kid. As you look here, it does have some stickers. It has the same as the Stinger, if I am correct, which I never, no, I guess not the exact same, but it is like a scorpion, I guess. So I guess it's not a stinger, but it looks a lot like what that's supposed to be. Here you have your wheel flares. I used to have a 97 Dakota. I love the wheel flares. It made it seem bigger. On the back here, you're going to have your nice missile rack, and it comes off the exact same way as the laser cannon or the missile rack of the Stinger. So always be careful, especially if yours is not broken. And then on the back here, you just got these couple little vents that's going to cover, I don't really know, your engine's up front. So you do have these vents right here, and then you can kind of look straight through it. Here you have your rear tail lights, and then you have your jerry cans along with your tow hitch. Now the difference between the jerry cans and this is these ones unplug, and then they're going to plug in there. I actually like, and I think most people do too, this setup more. Now, on the mail away, you'll get this. So I don't have a mail away, or else I would love to show it off, but my guess is that if on the mail away you have that, the whole front end is going to be different. And we'll take a look at that in a second. So, but here you also look like this is where you could also fuel up, because they did have fueling ports, especially I got one that's right over here on the other side of the Sky Striker. And those just kind of plugged right in. Again, I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. I just think these ones look way better. As for the actual missile rack here, it does turn 360 degrees, and it does elevate up and down. Now, this is a crazy concept, because somewhere along the lines, some manufacturers forgot that you can actually raise guns and missiles. It's kind of crazy there. And then you have 4 different missiles that just come right out. Now, they do pop in pretty tightly, and you can look at that detail there. So you got the fins all across it, just a little bit of detail there. And these were always nicer rockets, nice and sturdy, so they don't really warp, unlike the Wolverine that definitely has a tendency to warp. All right. Now, the other thing that they did change was they gave this doors. Now, these are different doors than the Stinger, and when we get to the Stinger, we will definitely show that off to see how they are different. So you do have this nice design. Now, I look at this now and I realize this is probably just canvas. It's some sort of a canvas door, a canvas roof, and then they made it look like it's rolled out so you can open it up, but that was usually for the helmet. All right, these doors go up in a going style, not completely a going, but kind of in a going style. And then for this here, we just kind of pop this off, and there's nothing underneath it, although it does kind of have the same texture. On the inside of this, you do have a nice steering wheel, which if you still have it, good for you. On this side, you can see the cluster gauge. You have a stick right down there. All right, you have your radios. You do have a, I'm trying to get the best view. There is a cluster gauge in there. And then when you look at the seats, all right, same thing. Has a little device right in the middle, probably some sort of communications device there. You have the regular bucket seats. And then you have a little bit of design right here that's just going to give you some depth. And as a kid, I don't know if you really realize it, but there's so much stuff that's actually going on within all of this that they were able to sculpt it. Now, again, they used the same sculpt that they did for this Vamp Mark II and later on with the Stinger. Actually, not even later on in this series, because it's coming up real shortly. But making the doors different than the Stinger, and then making the front end different. So I did say that these are 2 different ones. Now, the original one here, now first off, they gave him the fog lights. Now, what is cool is that they clearly were thinking ahead, because you could put it there. So you could swap this if need be. Here we have what most people think is the machine gun, but we really don't know. In the Class of 5, they turned it into an environmental sensor. And then there is no shovel here, which they have a sculpted in shovel, and then you have your bedroll that sits right there. Now, the design of everything else is the exact same till you get to the back end, which I already kind of showed off, that the jerry cans are made completely different. These ones are going to plug in, and these ones, even though are easier lost or fall out easier, look much better, or the idea is better. Everything else on it is the same, other than this one has a gun, this one has a rocket launcher. It looks like on the inside, as I'm looking quickly, that's odd, the steering wheel is different. So you have a green steering wheel. Now it makes me think I have to go look and make sure I have a complete one, and it's not the same. And a matter of fact, as I'm looking at this, the dashboards are completely different. And so is the interior. Some of it is. The dashboard is different, not the interior. It's just the angle that I was at. So the dashboards are completely different. All right. And now it makes me wonder, because I would assume that these ones are pretty much the exact same. And now when I look at the Stinger here, and again we'll get to the Stinger, this cluster is the same as this one here. So they sculpted a completely new design with the actual Stinger and the Vamp Mark II. They use the same idea, the same concept, but we have a different dashboard. The whole frame is completely different. You do have to watch out for this, as if you have one that is not broken off, then you're lucky. These things are almost always broken off. My Stinger one actually is not, believe it or not. But anyway, that is your Vamp Mark II. Let me know, did you have it? Was this something you played with? Was this your be-all, end-all Vamp? Or maybe you wanted this one. Maybe you traded with your cousin to get whichever one you wanted. Maybe you took these things off. Yeah, I'm not going to try and take it off. If you twist it and you hit the right spot, it will come off because it's keyed. I'll be damned if I'm going to do that. Anyway, there you go. That is your Vamp Mark II. As for the figure, unfortunately, he has a weak leg. So, you usually would open up the top, pop him in here, and then you're going to take this. The truth is, the more and more you do that, the more and more you risk something going wrong. And I always thought that this open piece should be over on this side. So you could have a figure, you know, sitting out or standing out, shooting at Cobra. Considering all you had was 4 missiles. But anyway, there you go. That is your Vamp Mark II. Alright, so there you go. That is the Vamp Mark II. Tell me, did you like this one better? Maybe this is the only one you had. Maybe you never got around to having it like I didn't. Maybe you used to mix and match them. I know that was actually something pretty cool. And again, I think one of the better things that G.I. Joe tended to do back then was not just pure straight repaints. When it came to vehicles, they liked to change at least a little bit of the aesthetics. Rocket launchers compared to guns, putting on the different doors, which are different than the Stingers, right? Yep, just looked over at the Stinger. But anyway, tell me something. Did you have this? Tell me a little story. Maybe Grandma and Grandpa got this for you. Maybe this was something you traded with your cousin for the Vamp Mark I. I don't know. There's always a story. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. But please take a second. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop something like this. Now, I know what you're saying. How can you review this but not have gone and done Clutch version 2? Well, I did. He's right here, and down here is a playlist of all the classic reviews I've done. Take care.